Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I am Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Not too bad, my friend. And we are Hear Us Out, and you are watching us on the fine YouTube. Anybody joining us live, hey, hey, hi, hello. Anybody watching us in the future, let us know what the weather is like there. Tonight, or today, or this morning, depending on what time zone you're in, we are talking about Marvel's What If. Ooh, it's a statement. What if? To name your show, What If. I personally, Paul, I'm getting this out of the way up front. I was really excited about this. We talked about it before on the channel. I was one of those people that was like, I love something different. Me, I'm just into something that's a bit of a new challenge, into something that's going to be a little bit different to what I've been served up before. And Marvel's What If, with the concept being first big Marvel animated show in their current Disney Plus and Disney ownership guise, let's say. It's also the idea of taking what Marvel's already had in its comics, of being able to say, well, we can do a run where this is the universe, but we can also do a run where this is the universe. So we can change things around when we want. And the very simple concept of What If is, what if one thing changed? It's really about looking at multiverses. And because Marvel are no dopes and nothing really happens by accident, the next few movies that are going to be coming out and the WandaVision show that's happened earlier this year did dip into the idea of multiverses. In fact, I do believe Doctor Strange 2 is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So they're not exactly burying the lead and hiding it there.
No.
Paul, 9 episodes. It was supposed to be, I think, 11, but COVID changed some plans, so they had to cut a couple. I've got a fairly good guess what those couple could have entailed, because there are some things that are included here where you don't really know where it went next. Like Peter Quill's dad, Ego the Living Planet, Kurt Russell to you and me, he shows up kind of twice for all of 10 seconds in a couple of episodes, and you're like, So there was going to be an episode about him and Peter Quill. What hit the cutting room floor didn't affect the final product as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to say hey, hey, hi, hello to our fine friends in chat. So Paul, out of the gate, were you excited for this, or were you thinking, Marvel, they've done enough, do they really need to take on becoming the biggest thing in animation too?
No, I think so. I was excited for it. It probably not as much as you, but I like the What If comics as well, and I know them really well. So I was interested in seeing how they kind of turn this, because the good thing is that from the MCU, they've always tried to take what's already there and then modify it so that it's its own separate story kind of thing. So I was interested in seeing some of the concepts that they were going to take on and what they were going to alter and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it looks pretty cool.
And in fairness to them, it wasn't the easiest sell for a lot of people. Okay, cards on the table. You watch way more animated stuff than I do. Animated stuff, anime, general non-live action stuff. You're gonna have watched a couple of thousand more hours than me. That's just the way it is. This was my chance to kind of go, well, here's a whole series that I will probably be able to watch from start to finish. It's going to be based on a universe, so to speak, that I know, with an interesting twist. So I was all down for it. Now, Marvel may run the box office. Marvel may be the most famous name in comics. But to take on this kind of new medium and also do it in Disney Plus and also do it after their live action shows, which the last one was Loki. It started off with WandaVision. They've taken some chances in their TV shows, which was great. But this was really going to be their big departure, to see if people would come with them that extra step. Slight change of format, as in it's going from live action to animation, but also slight change of... Also, the Iron Man movies that you've seen. You're going to recognize things and you're going to see callbacks here, but it's not going to be that. It's going to be tilted. There's going to be a shift. People who were good guys can be bad guys now. Things didn't happen just the way you remember. I've seen the internet react in the first kind of 4 or 5 episodes, and it was 50-50 from what I was seeing, Paul. It was quite divisive. Some people were like, yeah, I'm completely here for this. It's new, it's fresh, it's original. And other people were a bit more, well, how's this really going to tie into the movies? And is this just like wasting our time? Is this really going to be relevant? To which I kind of had the knee jerk reaction of, come on, not everything has to be interlinked and be relevant. Sometimes you just want to be able to actually make something new and something slightly different.
Yeah, like that's yeah. I don't understand that whole kind of need for interlocking or anything like that. But like you can easily say that the reason that they're doing this is essentially all this stuff might not be connected to the MCU as we know it, but it's essentially getting us used to the idea of a multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of thing. Like it's like we haven't. We've had little glimpses and stuff like that. They've given us kind of like breadcrumbs to kind of follow throughout the Wandaverse and to WandaVision, Loki, and which goes the which goes oncoming, or even in Spider-Man No Way Home, they even mention it kind of thing as a kind of little kind of like tip to the hat kind of thing. This is just another step in the road of getting us used to the idea of you might see Tony Stark, as in Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, in a movie about the multiverse down the road because in that one he didn't die or something like that, you know, or you know you'll get Steve Rogers back, Chris Evans playing Steve Rogers back. It opens the doors for all these things, but what if it puts it simply, there's multiple verses because of simple choices that have been changed. So that's what you have to deal with, and that's what if kind of gives us the help with.
Yeah. And look, I don't want to pick on people, and I don't want to alienate anybody unnecessarily because I'm not. It's not like, oh, I hate you if you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, that's cool. But the people, I'm finding a lot of the people that have really disliked it strongly are the ones that went in with expectations. They thought, I know the MCU, I've come to the MCU, this is what I want the MCU to give me. And then they didn't get what they were expecting to be given. Sometimes that was expressed as it's not going to be consequential, it's not going to be related. And for my money, this does not need to directly relate back to the MCU as it's going to be shown. This is a sandbox to play around in. It's another creative expression point for Marvel and all the wonderful people who are involved. Having said that, I get that if you were watching this and you were okay, maybe you were expecting something, but you're okay for something different. I get that they weren't all equally enjoyable for everyone. Personally, I enjoyed all 9 episodes for one very simple reason. The underlying tone was we're doing what we feel like doing. This is all just pure, let's see what we can do. They loved pouring in their little nods and their little callbacks, and you know, and spoiler alerts all over this episode, by the way, for everybody. You know, there's a moment, if anybody's ever seen Endgame, I know most of the planet has, where Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, dies. She falls from Clint Barton's hand. You know, it's they're holding hands. She falls. There's a switcheroo in one of the episodes here where he falls, and it's her that has to let him go, or she lets him go. You know, who let who go? Anyway, he's the one that fell. There's lots and lots of really nice things like that in there, but I couldn't get over it, even when I wasn't absolutely digging the storyline, or even when I was a little bit distracted by maybe how goofy Thor was in some places. I was still like, this is awesome because somebody with a pen and a paper thought, you know what I feel like doing? Do you know what I want to show now? Do you know what I want to try? It was the most expressive thing Marvel has done since Iron Man. Just a pure expression of, here is our creative vision. We're taking what we want. We're forgetting what we don't want. We're giving you our thoughts on this. We'll make T'Challa Star-Lord if we feel like it. We'll make somebody bad good. We'll mess with, you know, the absolute simple fundamental principles of Infinity Stones. They did it. It was done with love. And that's why I don't want people to hate it. I think it's fine if people haven't enjoyed it. And I very much think this is one of those things. If it's not for you, I'm really glad that it won't ruin the MCU. Like, it would be terrible if they made it that consequential that if this wasn't your type of thing, but you kind of had to see it or you had to live through it just to enjoy the rest, I think that would have been kind of crappy.
Yeah, like if it was in some way a gatekeeping kind of piece of content for the rest of what the Marvel universe is going to do, then yeah, I'd be very much kind of like, like this is not the time to do this gate kind of holding kind of move there, Marvel. But yeah, I definitely agree in this. This is Marvel's had a plan. Like Marvel Disney has had a plan for the different phases.
Yeah.
Like for ages, they've been like hiding things within plain sight way back from the start, kind of thing. So like you can't like the problem with that is that like you have to be creative within the confines of the plan. Whereas what if essentially allows them to kind of like spread their wings and kind of like let's play around with some ideas and stuff like that, and like for all we know is none like this won't affect the greater phase of the Marvel universe. But like if people really like it or really like a certain episode or something like that, you could find that maybe there's a spin-off where we follow that universe for a little bit longer, or we get more what ifs, because
Yeah.
I think they are thinking of doing more what ifs kind of thing.
Well, two overwhelmingly popular things, and again, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen them all. The Doctor Strange episode was, I think it was episode 4 or 5, was unbelievably popular compared to some of the others, and I think that's one of those things that they might draw from and end up pouring into the live action. May already have, but may in future. It's one of the simple parts of the storyline. In fact, Paul, let's go and jump through some of these episodes.
Yeah.
And I'll skip to that one first. So you had Doctor Strange here having what is a very Doctor Strangian kind of situation. It went back to the movie where at the start of it he has a crash, and this one was called. In fact, let me hide that because it's worth showing the names of the episodes.
Yeah, those.
It was essentially what if followed by the question. So it was what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger instead of Captain America. So what if Peggy Carter became the super soldier? What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? I'm going to look around my own camera here. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? That's the one where basically the Avengers are all killed. Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. And then one of the ones that I thought would be the biggest hit, what if zombies, which I thought was a fun little thing to do. What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? What if Thor were an only child? Brilliant idea. Strange execution, which I felt really odd about, but loved because it was so odd. And then you get into kind of the last two, which are the Infinity War and Endgame and the whole thing. What if Ultron won? And what if the Watcher broke his oath? But just to go back to the Doctor Strange, Paul. Man, oh man. Doctor Strange trying to change history and finding out that the crash that's, going to kill the love of his life, he can't stop. He cannot save her no matter how many times. That drives him to a point of absolute madness where he goes to try and become even more powerful and spends, 900 years or something, absorbing all sorts of super and supernatural creatures to become what I'm dubbing evil Doctor Strange. Even though he's not the most evil thing in the world, he's a really super powered Doctor Strange. And I think if they need to up the ante in the real movies, they could weave some of this story in there where he heads off and maybe absorbs a few things. Maybe it makes him a little bit of a grumpy bugger for a while. Maybe it makes him not quite so cool for a bit. A la my theory, if you remember when we talked about the Spider-Man trailer, that maybe Doctor Strange, there was just something about it. They were making him look like he could be a pseudo-villain for part of it. Maybe he's absorbed something that's made him a bit of a goof. Who knows?
Well, yeah, like we have seen his that is a little bit of a wilder side to him within the Spider-Man universe kind of idea. So yeah, there's a possibility. The possibility also could be that he ends up absorbing whatever's in that box as well.
And I'm noticing a note from Popculture. You were saying you were excited to enjoy it with your son. It's been a chore for both of you. I completely get that. We were excited for it, but now it's not really top of the list. You have enjoyed how many actors voice their own characters. That's a funny one, Paul, because not everybody voiced themselves, and apparently not everybody was even asked to voice themselves. Dave Bautista says he wasn't asked to do Drax. Not that Drax has a whole load of dialogue in this. I assume for
Yeah, I
some of it
think.
it was scheduling conflicts, some of it was just financial choices.
Yeah, I say a large amount of it was financial choices and just people hearing like yeah I Michael like what is Michael the guy who plays Killmonger, gods
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, he may have just heard about it coming out of like that Killmonger was going to be in it, and he may have offered because he's voice acted things for like Rooster Teeth and a couple of other um like animated series, so he may want to just join in and just be like, yeah, I like voice acting, I'll just do my own character, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of others may have heard it and done the same thing, but I would say, yeah, a lot of it is financial because, like, getting Robert Downey Jr. to voice himself, like,
Yeah. It probably would not have been worth the money that they would have had to lay out. Exactly. So, Paul, what do you say we do just a quick blast through the 9 episodes, starting off with that Captain Carter.
can we
Yeah,
can we go through them first and always say if we liked them or didn't like them?
sure, sure.
First
And
of all,
if you say you did or didn't like, I want to hear why you did or didn't like to. So,
okay,
what it was that broke it, or what your favorite bits were. So,
okay.
first episode, are you okay with? Now, thankfully, I didn't see any of the internet going, "Oh, here we go again." It's just changing, swapping out. It's the feminization. Some absolute forehead of a fellow on the internet calls it the MCU. It's like, oh, you're so clever, the MCU, because you hate any sort of gender swapping or any idea that women could be part of anything. I hope you're scared every night that some women are going to come and just take away all your masculine stuff. Like, come on, man, toughen up, will you?
Yeah.
People like that really bug me. But I did not see this as a vacuous swap for the sake of it. I thought it was an excellent idea. And I thought it was really well executed. I really enjoyed the idea of Peggy Carter's a kick-ass lady. And it's very clear, particularly in Captain America the movie, there's the sexist overtones that are being played out writ large, that she is sidelined or diminished, even though she's as capable or more capable than just about everybody else in any given room. So it was brilliant that something went wrong and she's the one that became Captain Carter instead of Steve Rogers becoming Captain America.
Yeah, like that's yeah. Captain Carter. Yeah, so I didn't like this one.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing why, though.
And it's not like yeah, I like the idea of Captain Carter becoming Captain. I like Captain Carter, so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that switch or anything like that. It was just that there were certain things that I felt like they just had it in there just to keep the character like Steve Rogers didn't need to be there like as long as he was. It just I know they were trying to do the whole mimic of like Bucky Barnes, like best friend kind of thing, slash love interest, but like the only reason the only way that they could keep him in the war was that you to build an early Iron Man suit.
True.
And it was just like you were like you like so what you're saying is that if Captain Carter became Captain America essentially or took the super soldier serum, the Iron Man like suit would be invented in like the 1930s 1940s. Like I was just like this is you're trying to keep the character like relevant and I hate it. Like so my thing is that it was a really good idea but poorly executed in the sense of characters and stuff. So,
Well,
that's my
I
dog.
I kind of hey doggy. I hear what you're saying, and I can't argue against any of the specific realities of what you just said. But I do know why. There's two good reasons why Steve Rogers should still be there, and that is their relationship is fundamental to not just What If, but essentially the MCU as we knew it. All you have to do is look at the end of how Endgame ended with their dance, one of the greatest moments in the MCU for me. And similarly, and again, I'm not going to spoil it, but anybody who hasn't watched the last episode, there's a post-credit scene. Stay for it. But also, okay, the idea that they use the a kind of a what they call them, the Nazi Crusher or whatever, which was an Iron Man suit
Yeah.
it was a Mark One Iron Man suit. It was a Mark One. It was a Mark One War Machine suit, in fact, because of the way it was painted up. But the idea that Steve Rogers' kind of indomitable spirit, that idea that he is the guy that wants to make a difference, and that he'd gotten all the way to the super soldier point, there had been a disaster, she got it. I was fine with the idea that him and Stark could have been, friends at that point, that Howard might have given stuff for him. Okay, I'm hearing you that, okay, it's a bit convenient that it's very recognizable as an Iron Man suit. I'm not going to argue against that. I completely let it slide simply because I understood his need, or the story need for him to be there. And it did make sense for me once they gave him the suit. Okay, that's how he can be in more scenes. Why he's there at all made sense to me without the suit. Just, I would have been fine if he hadn't been joining them on the battlefront, but was still a character in it. So, like, you know what, 1 point to you there, so far as that goes. I'll completely concede that.
Yeah, like, as in, my thing isn't like that I don't want them to show Steve Rogers' relationship with Carter. Like, in no way I want that. It's just to shoehorn him into the battlefield was a bit much. Because, like, they didn't shoehorn Peggy that much into the battlefield in the actual movie.
This is true.
Or into the, like, so, like, she was a perfectly capable, like, intelligence officer and, like, espionage, like, agent, like, who didn't do any stand-up fighting. And, I know that... So.
Your points are undeniable, my friend. But again, this is What If. This was pure creation. The reason I can overlook all of that is it just felt like somebody with a pen going, and you know what? Who cares that Iron Man suits weren't made until Tony came along? His dad could have done something. Why not? Because what if? So what if? There you go. So, and again, I'm not arguing against you. I know you're being very fair, I have to say, because you've got a really good point. But I was able to ride those waves pretty easily.
Yeah, like, that's like, I guess the coming down to it was just the it is just What If, and it is just a creative choice. So, like, it just, for me, it didn't work.
I hear you. Well, and just before we move on to episode 2, Popculture mentions, I love how the British flag, the British flag on the suit and the shield worked. It actually, it's a pretty clean look. They did a good job there. So fair play to them.
It's like they had a Captain Britain to possibly base it off.
Yeah, I know. But hey, it was a good Captain Carter, considering that the TV show, Peggy Carter's TV show, was kind of not given the time I think it deserved. I think it was great that they started off with her as well. Also, chronologically, go back as far as you can in the MCU. So get back to the oldest date and start your changes there. Now, Paul, episode 2. Oh boy, talk about a change of pace. This is What If T'Challa was Star-Lord. And the thing I loved about it most was the very simple gags. This is where they really upped the humor. There was humor in the first one, but the very simple gags they just kept layering in. Like how T'Challa got picked up instead of Peter Quill. And it was because, he walked outside. He wasn't protected by the Wakandan kind of invisibility cloak, the shield. And, he registered on their radar as like, oh, there's a special person. So they basically kidnapped the wrong child. That's how this worked.
He outsourced it.
Because it was outsourced. And the idea that T'Challa, you can make him a criminal instead of Black Panther. Have him head off with the Ravengers around, become basically the alternate Guardians of the Galaxy. But his influence, because he started as a lot less of a vacuous person than Peter Quill. He's not all, I'm cool, it's Magnum, PI, I want to listen to my cool mixtapes. It's a guy whose hero was Robin Hood. It's a guy who wants to do the whole stealing, but it's from the rich to give to the poor. And that has an effect on everybody else, all the way up to my favorite, which is Thanos. When you see Thanos as part of the crew, because it's like, T'Challa Robin Hood over here, he kind of helped me see the error of my ways. People like Drax show up having not been part of the crew, but still being like, hey, I'm still very Draxian. You're going to come here and give me a picture. It was a real lighthearted change of pace, but it still had enough substance that I was hooked the whole way through.
Yeah, no, this I really like this one. My only problem is that like so I really like this one. It was really full of humor and stuff like that. It was good kind of points and stuff like that. It was yeah. I think the story was less based on logic than it was or like kind of like true story counts and points. And more kind of just going, yeah, we want to play with this and make T'Challa like the better Star Lord kind of thing because he's fairly like he's a very good prince as we've seen before in the main MCU. So yeah, it's a fun one kind of thing. My only the only problem with this one is just that there's some jumps and it also makes you feel like Peter Quill is not the best Star Lord like that was possible, and we kind of got jacked from like an even better Star Lord in MCU Prime, I guess.
Well, yeah,
So
and I think that's an important message that we can all take from these what ifs. It's fun to think of. Well, actually, would you know? Would Gamora have made a better Star Lord? Would any? What about? Let's see. I'm trying to think of a good one that they didn't use. So what if? And again, I just said what if. Wow, there you go. What if Hank Pym had been taken, and you have Star Lord with Pym particles. You have
mhm.
somebody like Tony Stark being taken with a natural aptitude for science. It's fun. I don't think it lost the run of itself anywhere either, which was nice. It didn't just go wacky and zany. It kept a story through line. I thought it was nice that the collector got to have a bit more of, we got a bit more Benicio del Toro, and that's always
Yeah.
good. Um, it was yeah, it was the one that I felt it was a great second episode after the first one. Like it was perfectly in sequence for me that they would just change tone and change scope and change just the landscape so much so fast
Hmm.
that it kind of made me that it was that second episode that made me think, okay, these guys are just doing whatever they want. Episode 3, do whatever you want. Even if I don't like it, I'm going to be here to see it, and I'll still watch episode 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I would say that this would have been a stronger start to the what ifs,
Really?
but yeah, like it's because it's full of humor. It gets the thing across pretty quickly of like what if. I understand why they did Captain Carter. It's a lot more of a main kind of character changeover. Like it's a lot more recognizable storyline for everybody kind of thing. So I definitely understand why they did the what if Carter became what you could say Captain America. So yeah, I understand why they did it, but I do feel like this is the stronger episode. This is the stronger episode between the first two. Um, it gets through the what if thing pretty quickly, as in what if T'Challa was taken instead of Peter Quill. Like all of the changes that would occur because of that, and it's a lot more humorous than the first one. So
Oh, for sure.
it's got a nice tone. So I felt that's my take on it.
I hear what you're saying. My counter to that would be that having the slightly more not serious, but the slightly more directly related to, let's say, the first Captain America movie version that was the Captain Carter first episode. It gave it a real footing that they would never have to explain what if again in any of the other episodes. Whereas this one had the benefit of being able to move fast and freewheel through it all and have every character be different. I think for me, they were smart to kind of go, this will be a slightly different Steve Rogers. This will be a slightly different Peggy Carter. Because of that, some other things will be different, but the other people are still fundamentally the other people. Where this one, you've got like Thanos hugging people and stuff, so you've got a lot to take in. I do take your point though, to sell it to people. This may have been a better opening door of, come on, let's have fun, hop on the bus.
Yeah, like my thing is that I don't think the concept. I don't think I understand that like you're saying that they started small with changing two characters around so that and then you see the ripples outcasts and stuff like that. But since the majority of people who are going to be watching this are like more than likely medium to fanatical fans of the MCU, they would get that and they would know all
Do
the
you
stuff.
think?
Yeah,
Do you think this
like
was this was a narrow aim, if you know what I mean? Do you?
no, I don't think it would be a narrow aim. I just my my point is, I don't think that having all the characters change around would have been a very difficult thing for an audience to take on,
I hear you.
and that I think my case for it is that abruptly showing the multitude of changes, gets across the what if thing a lot grander kind of thing, and yeah, it's a lot more fun kind of opener.
I'm definitely with you that
I think
it's the more lighthearted, so it might have been the easier sell for a lot of people,
yeah. So
for sure.
I think the Petty Color one was really good. But I think it could have been the second one or third one. I don't think it would have. It's good that it's at the start because of who they are.
I get you. No, I completely get you. Then we're on to the third episode, which, what if the world lost its mightiest heroes? So that's a bunch of dead Avengers, really. This is where you get your Nick Fury and your Black Widow kind of real introductions as how they're going to be in this. You also get to see Clint Barton for the first time. You get to see how many jokes in the space of 60 seconds they could make at Thor's fabulous hair. Maybe even 30 seconds. I think they might have got 5 or 6 jokes in less than a half a minute.
Yeah, that is true.
It was pretty awesome. But then to have Avengers being killed, you've got Tony Stark and Avengers being killed in movie scenes that we've seen them survive. So Tony Stark in the diner talking to Nick Fury, Thor going to pick up his hammer, which is the first time in the MCU that we see Clint Barton at all, and it's Clint that gets him. Then Clint bites it, and because Thor dies, you get Loki showing up being the vengeful brother. I worked it out, and I've not made space, so we'll just throw him up. Also, we get to see the Hulk get killed, which I'm sure is going to be one of the parts that you're going to be like, not sure about that now. Because for me, I was like, that one I can see why it might rankle for people. But once it's all revealed, it's like, okay, cool. And again, spoiler warning, it's on screen, Hank Pym. Again, yeah. I know I'm saying like I enjoyed every one. I enjoyed this. For a part of me, I was like, I really like the concept. This was just one of those ones where it's like the pacing wasn't quite right. This is one of the ones where it started losing me, not because of its content or because of its creativity, more just its structure. I don't think it was as well made as the first two or well laid out. So it started feeling more disjointed and hokey. The tempo wasn't there. But it was still a good episode. It's the one where I was like, yeah, well, they can get it wrong too. I like the thinking. The execution could have been better.
Yeah. Yeah. As in, it felt rushed in parts, which, like, it didn't let you settle into the idea, and it rushed in sections, which kind of is, like, I guess the best word is janky in the sense of, like, as a watcher. So I will agree there. I like this one. The Hulk thing doesn't really bother me because it's a what if, so I just accept. There is certain things that I just accept. So like yeah, and it's a nice kind of show of like one of the characters that a lot of people think is a joke, like if they
like
put
the Yellow Jackets,
Yellow Jacket / Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But it's like, what happened? It's one of those things that if any of the Avengers put their mind to it, they more than likely could assassinate the rest of them, kind of thing. Like that's there's very few kind of like Avengers that won't be able to essentially pull it off or something like that, know. Like I doubt Hulk's not going to be a quiet assassin. It's definitely going to just be like a rampaging monster, kind of thing.
A Hulk smash, if you will. And Black Widow's not pulling it off anytime soon either.
See, this is
or maybe she is, I guess.
See, my thing is that I think she would be a really good assassin. I think like there's like Thor is not going to be an assassin. He's going to be a straight up guy, like not a straight up guy, but like a full like frontal assault person. Yeah. Like I think that's the whole thing. I think there's certain Avengers that wouldn't be able to pull this particular thing off. But it's nice. It's a change in the kind of view and stuff like that, and gives us a little bit of something,
And again, I enjoyed the fact that Hank Pym got a bit of screen time. And I like the twist. or if you want to call it that, of, again, spoilers, the Loki kind of ending thing. I was down with it. It just, yeah, it didn't feel like it was executed as cleanly. It felt like it maybe needed another 20 minutes and they could have actually laid it all out, or maybe they needed to remove some things. I don't know. Either they tried to do too much in too little time, or they just didn't execute them all smoothly enough. But it was the one that kicked me out of the slipstream a little bit, but not so much that I was like, oh, that's it, I'm done with it. It was more, shame.
I definitely agree. Simply because it felt like I know this is going to be really mean. I liked this, but it felt like a know nothing episode.
As in,
it doesn't give us.
You don't know anything more after it.
Well, it doesn't give us anything.
True. True.
Like some of the other episodes later on come back.
Well, that's true. You don't really get anything from this, even in the finale, which does tie things back together. So, Paul, I want everybody who's watching right now to know, we know that no one's ever going to watch this video. This is going to be one of our least viewed videos ever. It's not a topic that is going to get lots of people, and I understand it's probably bored at least one of you. Brew, if you're still with us, fair play, because I know this ain't your thing, brother. But you are our most loyal fan and have been since our very first video, so I do love you for that. I don't mind. This is one of those things, we could have either talked about James Bond today, or we could have talked about this. The reason we're talking about this is everybody else is covering James Bond. Why don't we just give this a go? We haven't talked about Marvel for a while. For the small group of people that are going to be into this and into what we think, I'm hoping that you get in the comments down below and absolutely rage blast what you do or don't agree with anything we say. Because this is one of those ones where hardcore fans will have a lot of fun discussing it ad nauseum. So this one is for you guys out there, the people who type angrily and regularly. Please help this video get seen by more people who can type angrily. Like, subscribe, share, but really do, please, everybody right now, if there's like 2 people watching, please click like. Hey, Kitty Cat says, we're not boring, how dare you. I appreciate that sentiment.
That's
I think it's very easy to lie in text, though, in your defense.
I like the aggression. That's what I really like.
There you go.
I like the aggression there.
I love it.
How dare you? You're not boring. It's like it's a weird, aggressive compliment.
It's a nice way. I'm gonna just say this. Don't tell the rest of YouTube, but we really do have the best viewers and commenters of anybody, and all of the people who I've seen watching so far tonight and have commented, you are amazing. So thank you very much. But that leads me to, that's nice me. What about what if Doctor Strange broke his heart instead of his hands, Paul? We talked about it a moment ago. Where do we rate it, though? Let's go back and just say, did you like it as much as everybody else?
It was an enjoyable one. I think it was the more captivating storyline for them. Like, it's nice to see, it's nice to see a character fight against fate in these kind of things and be told, you do understand that this is a single point in time, and it's very important that it happens the way that it happens, and then they break it. I like those storylines. I like the.
Me too.
But I also very much enjoyed the ramifications of that. Breaking of it. It becomes more of a purpose than it does become the end. Result.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say
we'll be talking about Strange again in a minute. Essentially, I'm with you. And I'll keep it very short. I do, in my storytelling, I can dig a corrupted hero. I'm into the idea of unwinnable situations and how people deal with them. And I'm also into a bit of a grim ending. I think that shows a bit of bravery. And I came out of that one and I remember turning it off and kind of going, good. We're going to get a bit of everything here. This is nice. Yeah. It was different to the 3 that had come before. There's laughs in there, there's sadness in there, there's lots of things, but it was again distinctly different as the other 3 had been, and doing that 4 times in a row, that's impressive. And I was like, right, how are they going to be unique in episode 5? Well, what if, one word, zombies. Paul, it's a genre you're good with. I'm fine with zombie movies. I like zombie movies, but I remember thinking people who are into zombies and zombie movies are getting a double hit right here. If they're into MCU and zombies, this must be like birthday morning, all the presents.
Yeah, like this is based off the Marvel Zombies comic book series kind of thing. There's a little bit of difference in some of them. They take on some of the aspects of it, and they remove some of the other ones, kind of thing. So I enjoyed that because once again, I've read Marvel Zombies. If you haven't, go read it. It is a very good series. But this is it was nice. As I said, it's nice to see something new, but still familiar,
Yeah,
kind of thing. So like. Um, I really enjoyed this. I like it. It was very sad to see certain characters, not make it, but it's very cool to see other characters in their like to become zombies and other characters to just keep going on and on.
it was it was a fun ride. I gotta say, I really enjoyed the usual zombie thing of who's going to make it, who's not, who's going to become a zombie. Because let's face it, the great catch for zombie stuff is you have a cast who are some zombies, some heroes, and by the end of it, not all the not all the heroes are left, and more of them will have become zombies. So it's like who's going to make it, who's not. But when you get to the point, like the more serious part with Vision and Wanda, and how she was basically being allowed to do all sorts of awful things because of his love, etc., etc. I was like, great, this is cool. That's fine. I was into the story, but really, I was just there for, what? This has got a great feeling of fun with Spider-Man, with Ant-Man head in a jar, with just interactions between people. Um, you know, Sharon Carter, I nearly forgot her name, kind of having the whole, she's not super powered in a conventional sense. So it really is a case of, well, she's not going to be able to face off against absolutely everybody. There was enough humor and enough sadness every other beat that it had that great feeling of, it was like a mix between the first and the second episode, just with zombies. So again, 5 times in a row, something new. I
Yeah,
wouldn't rate it
like
as the best of the episodes, but I would probably rate
yeah.
it as the one that I would watch again as a standalone.
Yes, yeah. I would, yeah. Like it's good. It's a good playful thing that we got to watch, um, which goes. But yeah, it's not one of the best. It's not one of the worst, but yeah, it's a good one. So it's
I
a good
think,
storyline.
and it's dead center on our list. So next up was the one that I kind of wasn't expecting, a whole Killmonger storyline, and I'm glad they did it. It's the how they did it. I was just surprised because there is no explanation. Well, there's a bit of an explanation, but the introduction of, okay, Tony Stark's about to be exploded into the cave where he creates Iron Man essentially. So he's about to get hurt and get captured, but no, he doesn't, because Killmonger saves him. Why is Killmonger there? There's a whole lot of stretching here. I was fine with that. I was like, okay, cool. I'm ready to roll with anything. What if? And you know how highly I rate Michael B. Jordan's portrayal of Killmonger and where he ranks and the villains in the MCU. Like it's top 2, top 3.
Yeah,
So I
there's a
was like,
video about
great.
those. You should go back and check.
Yes, actually, go back and watch all our videos twice if you can. And I'm glad. And again, spoilers. So look, forgive me if you haven't seen them, but we're not going to be able to talk about this without talking about it. I'm glad they didn't just make him completely virtuous. They left his dark side, because his dark side was not motivated cynically and cynically alone like a lot of Marvel villains in the MCU. He wasn't just a bad guy. He was somebody with very strong feelings on something and was acting out in inappropriate ways. So just having him all of a sudden become good would have weakened the character overall for me. I thought it was good that they kept his kind of, he has a little bit of megalomania to him. He does have a lust for power, but also he's got some strong feelings about how the world is shaped around him. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to touch it. I'm getting too close to the political fire.
No. I didn't like this one.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, I didn't like this one at all. I agree that it's good to see. It's good to see Killmonger kind of continue on with his roots, but essentially do it in a different fashion, kind of thing. I really do enjoy that. I do enjoy the fact that it was essentially during his time as a special forces operator. So it makes sense that he may be operating in the same theater of war as where Tony Stark was and stuff there is a bit of stretching, but it's good that they still bring in the fact that it's back a little bit in time kind of thing. So he has the resources to be able to find Tony and stuff like that. My problem is that it's just if he succeeded. It's not if Killmonger saved Tony Stark. It's really what if Killmonger succeeded in his plan. That's my
but
my problem.
The how did he succeed is if he saved Tony Stark. It's I hear you, but I gotta say, it's just an extension. So if him saving Tony Stark is what gave him the ability and the access to execute and be successful. And we're going to talk about this again in a minute when it comes to Ultron. So I kind of I hear what you're saying. They could have titled it differently, I suppose.
Not even title is better. It would have been nice to it's nice to see that they kept the true line of the character going through of his kind of he wants to share Wakanda technology across the world. He wants to wage war against imperialism. He's still Killmonger, kind of thing. I like that they kept that line, but it's a what if. They could have done so much more with that character.
Absolutely.
So it was a bit disappointing to see that they didn't decide to go, I guess, more what if than they did, kind of thing. So that's my only thing. What if Killmonger did become Iron Man, or what did he become War Machine, or Killmonger is his own Killmonger Iron Suit thing, kind of thing. That would have been cool. Not just this Liberator robot thing, which is it's my worry. Dumb. Yeah. So I liked it and I hated it. So
I would not rate it as it wouldn't rate highly for me on the list. I'll give you that. I was just like, oh, okay. And like I say, I was glad that they didn't bother just going, right, well, what if, like you say, but any of these things they could treat whoever they choose or whatever group they choose, they can go in a million different directions. For me, I was kind of glad, like I say, that they kept that as the USP for him. Because there's a real sense of, are they going to go with him being a reformed, good character? And then they kept enough menace to it. But also, they pulled forward and back a few times where I was like, okay, is he really going to be malevolent? Or is he going to be heroic by the end of all this? And I dug that. I hear you, they could have gone a completely different direction and had him become Star-Lord. They could have done just about anything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my favorite episode either, so I got to give you that.
Yeah, he could have become Thanos. That would have been, kind of thing. I would have still probably kept within lines of his original character, just giving him more power, kind of thing. So
don't bury the lead too much on the last episode. Then I guess we just got to talk about Party Thor, but just before we do, let's go over to the comments. Spider-Man and Ant-Man are the most funny protagonists in general. Look, they bring a lot of comedy. They really do. What if Thor and Banana Man adopted Kevin McAllister? I don't think Banana Man would leave Kevin home alone. I don't think you would have got the hijinks. I think Banana Man would be a more responsible guardian. Thor, on the other hand, as we're about to find out in Party Thor, would maybe not. Kitty Cat, you're talking about the zombie episode. You're also terrified of horror related, so it stood out, the zombie one. Lisa's kind of with you there on this. I think they didn't do Killmonger justice. It's the same story at a different time. I know what you mean. I wouldn't say it's the exact same story, but I get you. They could have explored much more. What if Killmonger gathered the Infinity Stones? Has anybody seen the last episode, or should we just not do the last episode tonight? I liked it at times. It did not know if it was going to be good or bad. Yeah, Kitty Cat. That's kind of where I was coming from. That's what kept me on the fun part of What If. Are they going to, what if it completely away from what we know, or are they going to just have it wobble and kind of go back? Um, you're not sure what it added to it all. I'm kind of with everybody on that. It's not the strongest episode. I'd put it and the episode 3, the Dead Avengers, the Killing of the Avengers, the Hank Pym one,
Yeah.
kind of towards the bottom. But Paul, Party Thor, did you love it? Or like a lot of people, did you get kind of annoyed that, oh my god, they're just making a dumbass out of Thor? They did it in the last movie where they made what were people calling him, overweight Thor or out of shape Thor. Now this is just juvenile delinquent Thor. The what if question is, what if he didn't have Loki as his brother? What if he didn't have a bad influence? Would he have just become the bad
Yeah.
influence?
Well, this is, um, yeah, I guess it's a fun one. It's an enjoyable one, kind of thing. So yeah, it's all right, kind of. I enjoyed the fact that they didn't kind of change the power levels of Thor and Captain Marvel, kind of thing. Like Captain Marvel is stronger than Thor, and I like the way that they essentially staple that with the fact is that she can't actually unleash the power required to put down Thor because
She'd
it would
vaporize the
damage the
planet.
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. I enjoyed that they gave us a logical reasoning behind the fact that yeah, it's going to take a lot of my power to do that, and the problem is I don't think the planet would survive that kind of thing. And it's just like it's a good benchmark in showing their power levels and also showing what it takes to kill or even to stop Thor, which
Yeah.
is nice. I enjoyed the fact. I didn't enjoy the fact that he put the hammer on her, and it seemed like she couldn't move because it feels to me that Odin only put the oath on Mjolnir because of what Thor did. Going into
Again,
Isengard.
alternate,
Isengard.
alternate world. There could have been other reasons. He could have been bold when he was 10, and Odin gave it the whisper then too. They can
Yeah, but
they can make excuses all the live long day for that one.
yeah, see, that's my thing. As in, if their point is that they don't have Loki there, Loki is a direct influence of that event to put this thing on it, so it feels like it wouldn't have happened. That's my, but it's
Yeah.
like this is the thing is I have to nitpick for this one,
I hear you.
kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing. Like the story is not, the story is very funny, kind of thing. Spoiled because in technically speaking, he would be like he's matured faster than his probable time than his race does, kind of thing. Like
True.
he's what 1,500 years old or something like that.
He's only a young
That's
fella.
yeah, he is in the movie in the MCU he has matured a lot. He is like a very mature 20 like
Yeah.
mid 20s year old.
He's done his growing up early. You're gonna laugh. We finally get to the one where I'm like, yeah, this is the one where I sat there watching it, going, I get it. I get what the yeah, okay. I'm not sure if I'm enjoying it, and I saw the gags, and they didn't make me laugh, which was weird. But yet I was going, actually, yeah, that's very funny. But it was weird. It was the middle of the big fight in when Captain Marvel shows up, and I'm all Captain Marvel. I'm Carl Danvers all the way. But the fight becomes cartoony ridiculous in some spots in a great way that I was like, I really like this though. I really and it was I wasn't enjoying it the way I was supposed to, and I was enjoying it at more of an academic level, or so it felt. And I turned to my wife at the time, and I'm like, I'm not sure what they're doing, if this will work for everybody. I really like it, but I don't think I'm reacting like a normal human right now. It was a weird one that by the end of it, I was like, I'm gonna watch that again, and I'm probably just gonna giggle my way through it. But it was so not afraid. It was so fearless in its kind of let's get Thor to Vegas. It was, that second episode that was funny with, Thanos and T'Challa being Star-Lord. That had humor beats and their story. This thing was just, it was Animal House. It was like, hey, it's House Party in the universe. And I really, really liked it. I just didn't feel it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
Which was odd for me because you've got two things that I really, really liked in it, and I'm going to throw them both on screen. You've got just Thor leaning into the idea of an adolescent assing around, Thor, and you've got Carol Danvers being a really, really cool representation of Captain Marvel. Again, I think that you're right. They did a great job on the power levels and explaining it. Loads there that I should have liked, and even having Loki show up as, an actual frost giant, touches everywhere that I absolutely adored. But weirdly, it was almost like I was going to write a paper about it the next day rather than enjoying it. And I don't know why or how that happened. I think it went further than I thought quite quickly. So I was like, "Ooh, what are they doing here? Well, this is interesting." I was more interested than entertained. Don't know why.
yeah, that's it felt like Animal House. That's my thing. It feels, yeah, like it doesn't feel like it brings anything to the table except for certain things.
Yeah,
So like it's one of those moments where it's just like, um, if it feels like a change. Like, I think Kitty Cat puts it well. The tone all shifts from several of them going back, like several of the kind of universes not going in a good light, kind of thing. It's a nice uplifting. Like, it's like if you watch like a horror movie or like The Walking Dead or something like that, and then right after you finish it, you go watch like Chuck or something, or like,
I
a
get you.
comedy
Yeah,
comedy series. It feels like they're trying to refresh your palate, kind of thing, for something else to come down the road.
and
So
I
that's
still would rate this way above the Killmonger episode or the Hank Pym episode. Like I think it's really brave, clever, funny, and nice. And I think it was great to have yet another tonal shift and do something different. I know it was me. It was one of those things. Maybe I'd eaten too much cheese the night before, but it was definitely one of those. Oh, why isn't this landing with me? I'm saying that's funny rather than laughing out loud, which is a really, really weird scenario to be in.
yeah. No, I do get it. I'll be honest. I do get this one. I enjoyed it just because, as I said, then like Captain Marvel probably made it more interesting to me than Thor did,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
for me
thing.
too.
Like, I do feel like I still think that I have a script for What If, and Thor that I think a lot of people would probably like to see, and we've talked about it before, kind of thing. So,
Well,
um,
Paul, I'm looking at time. We've got a choice now. The last two episodes really should go together,
yeah,
because it's What If Ultron won, and to run through that really, really quickly. This is one of those moments where, okay, what if Ultron won? So Ultron is incredibly powerful, and if you don't have Vision, you've got Ultron being, quite the badass. And what happens if Thanos shows up with a bunch of Infinity Stones and Ultron's able to vaporize him, split him in half, take some Infinity Stones, and become Super Mega Ultron, become Infinity Ultron, which really is sounding more and more like a Transformer every time I say it.
yeah.
But
For
you've,
Power Ranger bad guy.
or a Power Ranger bad guy. But then inside of that, it was the first time they were able to explore the Watcher then feeling under threat, which I thought was a great dimensional shift. So we're not just showing multiverses and this narrator that's been showing it. We're flipping the script and we're going into the multiverse. We're going between the lines. And when Ultron headed in there and they started fighting, I thought it's going to be a bit weird if they start punch fighting. And it was, because punch fighting's odd in that scenario. But for me, it worked. I was like, I'm curious as to where this is going to end up. I really want to see the last episode, episode 9. So this was a real Infinity War for me, where I was like, cool, cool. Can't wait to get part 2.
Yeah. See, yeah, okay. So, yeah, it was enjoyable. It did feel like it was, they sped up this is my only problem is they sped up the point A to point B thing. The fight with Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye against the drones, real cool.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed that kind of thing. But it felt like, yeah, it did feel like they were rushing certain parts, kind of thing,
for sure.
which I didn't. I didn't feel too good about, kind of thing. But the I guess the punch fighting between two cosmic beings, it feels like see, to me, knowing a lot of anime, like animation and anime and stuff like that, it just felt normal.
I'm not like, and
I was just like,
I know. It was
like,
medium correct. Let's say it was
like,
appropriate for the medium.
yeah, like my partner just heard around and just went, "Oh, it's like Dragon Ball now." Like, and I was just like, "Yeah, okay, we've gotten to Dragon Ball level, like craziness here, kind of thing." So yeah, like, and it's enjoyable to see the Watcher, like like it's nice to see that we've been introduced to the Watcher in a kind of like sense of like you can help me in what happens if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. Like Doctor Strange literally asks him for help, and he's just like, no. If yeah, see, this is a weird thing. He says that he doesn't get involved, but actively saying no seems a bit weird to me because it's like he could have just gone, I don't get myself involved, I don't intervene, or I don't
Mm.
influence or something, and you'd be like, cool, but he particularly says no to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it felt a bit
um
snotty. You're right, actually. Now
it
that
just
I hear
feels
it said out loud, yeah,
I think it's because it leads up to this
yeah,
this section of
yeah.
what's going on, kind of thing, and like I don't think this is the weird thing. I don't think the Watcher is overly threatened by Ultron. It's the fact is that the multiverse is.
Yeah.
That's where this comes from. I don't think the Watcher is really kind of like, oh, I'm going to die.
It's not
It's more kind of
self-preservation.
like,
It's protecting his job. It's job security.
yeah, kind of thing. But it's nice to see that although he watches and sees worlds end, like universes end and universes born all the time, that he got a sense of kind of like
Yeah.
protectorship over this, even though he doesn't take active roles.
Which is
So
absolutely explored in episode 9, which we're going to have to talk about whether or not we're going to cover in a second. But just so that we can close out 8, thumb up or thumb down on that one.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I did too. And if I was to give it to one thing, I would nearly say it was the Natasha and Bart relationship, except no. It was the fact that the idea of Super Mega Ultron Zoid, I was like, yeah, there's a properly menacing, properly consequential universe, multiverse ending bad guy. That, you're only as good as your villain. And I think they did well. They did really, really well. So I was like, yeah, cool. You give me that good a villain. I want to see how this story ends. But now
Yeah.
episode 9. I'll pull up the images. There are going to be people because it's only what 36 hours old or whatever whenever it
Yeah.
came out. Well, no, I guess it's more like 48 now. I'll pull up the images. Anybody who wants to drop off now, feel free.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
This is
spoilers and just close this out. Episode
major
9, Paul.
spoilers.
Gamora gets her chance. You get
Yes.
an alternate Avengers. You get the Watcher doing his thing. And I'm not going to spoil it. We will. Let's just leave it. Let's not actually spoil how it actually ends. But suffice it to say, it was Avengers Endgame. It really was Avengers Endgame in a what if scenario. A lot of people, I think, won't have liked that. Now, I haven't actually seen the reaction to this one yet, but I'm getting a sense that a lot of the people who stuck with it this far will actually probably not like how it's ended. Personally, I think it was a very what if ending to the what if stories, with that kind of sense that it was doing ultimate amount of nodding back to the MCU. The hat tipping was going on so fast that there was barely a hat left on its head. They were nodding to all sorts of stuff. But how they finally closed it out worked for me. And then the post-credit scene, it tied it all up nicely from start to finish.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like it's a night. Like I agree that yeah, it's an endgamey kind of episode, which is nice, and the kind of like it felt like it was a build up towards us kind of thing, which is good. Especially with the second last episode. Um, I if people didn't like it, I don't understand that,
Hmm.
kind of thing. Like I don't like you're not watching an overly like an overly kind of like you're watching a what if, as you said. Like you shouldn't be overly concerned about how the ending works, and also the fact is that the ending is set up and within the episode as well, and the episode previous to it in a lot of ways. So like, and the other episode as well. So like it's kind of like, well, what did you expect? They weren't going to tie in the rest of what happened in the series to the ending,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like as I said, they set up literally two of the things that happen in the last two episodes.
And there's okay. How should I put this? Would I say this was my favorite episode? No. Like weirdly, it wasn't. But I think it was very good at what it did. I can think of reasons why others will probably not like it, but they're not reasons that I share. I just think what if having this nice big circular tied up story, having an arc, having a phase essentially. This was what if phase 1. Um I think that's great and all, but what I was enjoying about what if is that it just went everywhere. This episode brought all of the other episodes, or most of the other episodes, back into focus in some way. So it had set up building blocks and it did that great Marvel connector type thing where it used them all in different ways to create the bigger final story. If it hadn't done that, I would have been fine. Because as this stands, I'm fine with individual what ifs. I love the fact that there's an overall season 1 story arc, and I think that's great. But ultimately, for me, it's not what I ended up getting out of What If. What I got out of What If is if they released one of these randomly every few months, that they just thought, here's a What If story, we're going to have a bit of fun with it, I'd be like, yeah, cool. There's a new feature length What If. I'm down with that now. I have faith that they're just going to do really creative stories that somebody in a room wants to tell. Maybe it won't be a story that we all would have chosen, but somebody somewhere is going to be given the leeway to just do it the way they want. I thought it was a great final episode, but how should I put it? I didn't really want it all to end, um, because I'm enjoying the singular nature of What If. The fact of like, what if they didn't bother making season 1 a season? What if they just hadn't tied anything up at all? It's kind of where my mind goes.
This is the thing. It's a what if also allows that as well.
It's true.
Kind of thing. Like it does open up this season, a season two, to possibly just be a playground.
Yeah.
You know, so like they've already made Star Wars Vision, or yeah, Visions, which is essentially just nice animated stories that don't actually tie in, like to the main story arc. So like they could just turn what if, like they could be just like, here's what if as a coherent story. Season two, not so much. It's episodic. You get nice little kind of tie offs at the end. It's a little bit longer then, as in like each episode might be a little bit longer because we need to like have a middle, beginning, and ending. We can't just gloss over certain things like we've done in this. So like yeah, it opens up the door for that.
And I want to
But
clear for internet record. I'm really impressed and very much enjoyed the final episode and how they did bring things together. Like I really enjoyed that, and the how they ended it, and even the post credit scene, which gave me a lump in my throat instantly. I was like, yes, this is brilliant. But looking back now, is it that overall arc and the ability of them to do that I'm going to remember about What If, or want a What If season 2 to be continuing a story? No, as it turns out, as I was expecting, I'm into the What If concept, and now that they've shown that they can do it so well, I really hope that we do get more.
yeah, like I think if we were going to answer what if, um, which goes, I guess, did it do its job kind of thing, the what if series, I think it definitely did. If like for if I was to point out, I'd say that its two jobs were to give us a whole bunch of fun episodes from a different perspective, you know, and its second job was to once again hammer home the fact that we have to get used to the multiverse idea,
Yeah.
you know. And I think if they are actually its two jobs, which is let us see a whole bunch of fun episodes and teach us more about the multiverse, I think it did its job really, really well. There's some episodes that we both are different kind
Mm,
of likes and stuff like that on, but I guess that's good in the sense that, like, I guess it's good in the sense that what if is going to be a decisive or a
a
kind of like,
divisive, yeah.
yeah, divisive kind of series, because specifically its core feature is what if your favorite character was a douchebag or something,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
You know, so like, yeah. Like, what do you think? Do you think it did its job kind of well? Do you
I
think
do.
that those two things are the only things that it was meant to do?
I do. I kind of agree with you. In fact, I could nearly say the only thing that I felt it had to do was be like the multiverse is your sandbox. Go play. It,
Hmm.
even not helping us understand how the multiverse works or any of that. I think just the fact that it's like, hey, multiverse, accept it. Hey, sandbox, we're playing. And I think it did that, and more. So, like, to your point, I think it did the things that you set out, that it needed to do. I think it did them well. For me, it's there's no way this is going to be the most popular thing Marvel do. It's just not, and I'm
No.
very much okay with that, and I hope they are okay with that. And
Hmm.
all I want to avoid is people going, it was crap because, well, again, back to the start, the next dumbass that says MCU and feminization of everything, blah blah blah. They can just get off the bus now. But the ones who are like, oh, well, it's not real MCU. It's like, yeah, of course it's not. It's what if. And the great thing about doing it as an animation is that you have that extra separation. So I think it absolutely did what it had to do. Was it flawless? Was it perfect? No. Will anybody ever watch this video, Paul, that we've made about it? No. Am I glad we've had this conversation? Absolutely yes. Am I looking forward to them doing more? Yeah, and I'm okay if they don't wait to do entire seasons. I would be fine if they dropped two or three, in batches. I think it could be that type of thing. Make them a little bit longer if they want. Release them
Yeah.
as mini movies. Just have a bit of fun. If
Yeah.
they're having fun, I'm having fun. That's what I've learned from this.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. As in, even if they decided to cut out the old, season thing and just do, a one or two kind of like episode every now and again, just would be nice.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Paul, with that, I don't even know if we should do plugs tonight, because no one's ever going to watch the video that's an hour and 15 minutes long by the time we close it out. For anybody who has joined us and stayed, thank you. For anybody who's joined us in the future, this one is supposed to be for you video on demand people to tell me I'm wrong and give us 10,000 views. And if you are doing 10,000 views, then that means we should have 10,000 likes. Because anybody who watches this, please hit the like button. It tells YouTube that we're okay. The last couple of comments in here, did you hear about the WandaVision spin-off with Catherine Hahn? I'm really hoping that there will be, because Catherine Hahn's amazing. And why not? They can do anything they want. They have plenty of airspace on Disney Plus, and they've also got enough money that they can afford to take risks.
Yeah. And also it's nice to see a like villain to
Yeah. Well,
Catherine.
yeah. What about Loki? No, I'm joking. I'm making jokes at the heroification of the villain Loki, the flip flop
Yeah.
that he is.
Hmm. Yeah. I get, but it's as in it's a nice to have another character go through it
Yeah.
than just Loki.
Also,
Loki is a great character.
like,
But
how great was her portrayal? She was a scene stealer in WandaVision. They would be crazy not to utilize her going forward. And if they're not going to be using her in the actual cinematic universe, Disney Plus, they've got the books. They need to give her a home on Disney Plus. There's more to be told there. Agatha Harkness, it could be great. Also, I see Kitty Cat went for, it's not a spin off necessarily. It might be a Han-off. No, it did make me laugh. Okay, call out Popculture 33. We gotta get Popculture 33 to over 100 subscribers so that we can actually properly link to his YouTube channel on our favorites or on our liked channels. Because until you do, we can't, because you haven't got a proper URL and the system won't let me. Believe me, I've tried twice already. to our friends at over on Spotify with the It Takes Two podcast. And obviously my friend Paul, who's above me right now. In fact, Paul, I'm going to put you beside me. And all of our other friends that Paul runs around doing a bit of D&D and D with. What's the third D, you might ask? Well, it's a bit of drinking. Because let's face it, how are you gonna make D&D more Irish? Not just set it in Hibernia, not just have an Irish theme, but also add alcohol, because let's face it, it's not just a stereotype. There's a lot of truth behind it in this fine land of ours. Paul can be found over on Homebrew Quest on YouTube. Links in the description below. They're always going to be there from now on, pretty much.